Welcome to the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. This is episode 39, Darwin's Journey. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to do a feature review of Darwin's Journey after we talk about some of the games that we've been playing lately. Getting a little deja vu here, guys.
Yeah, it seems like we've done this before. I don't know.
So funny story. I was editing the first recording. No, it's not. It's a terrible story. I was editing the first recording of episode 39, and I opened it up to do the final section that I hadn't gotten to yet, and the files were all corrupted. We lost a lot of audio. I did my best to recover some of it, and we're going to use some of that. We're re-recording a little bit, but there's some sections where the audio might not be so great. So not only are we redoing stuff, but we usually record in person, but our schedules didn't align to get this episode finished and get it out. So we're trying over the internets, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, this is a big kind of trial and error thing. Hopefully not so much error. So yeah. We'll see how this goes.
So we apologize if our audio quality for this episode, well, it's not going to be up to our normal standards. So we apologize for that, but we hope you still enjoy the episode. So another funny story, Tyson we made a list of games we wanted to do a feature review of probably a year ago. And Darwin's Journey was on the list, and we were expecting it soon. Tyson was expecting it. And then it just kept getting drawn out, right, Tyson?
Yeah, it was high up there on my list. It was one of the games that I most wanted to get reviewed. When we started the whole podcast, I was thinking, hey, I had already backed this. This would be a great game. I think it would give great content, all of that. And then the Kickstarter just kept delaying and delaying and delaying. I think in total it took 2.5 years to deliver this Kickstarter. So it's finally arrived.
You claimed that you received it, but I still didn't believe it. I had to physically see the copy before I believed that you had it. But you got it. You got it eventually.
I did, and it was worth the wait. I think we'll get into that, obviously. But I am glad that I backed this one.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game, and I'm excited to talk about it. I think you waiting for Darwin's Journey took even longer than my Ankh Gods of Egypt copy took.
Yeah, it might have taken longer than Darwin's actual journey.
Yeah,
that could be a mistake there.
This is also true.
Your Ankh copy, yeah, that took a while, Tyler.
It did.
The fact that Darwin's Journey was longer than that, yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, but the thing was that at least everybody who backed Darwin's Journey was in the same boat as me. No pun intended, but everybody was in the same boat. Both Kevin and I had received our Ankh copies well before you did, Tyler.
Yeah, it was months before Tyler got his. You were a little bitter about that, but we won't revisit that.
That was. So question, if you guys scrolled down like your crowdfunding sites, what would be the game that you've been waiting on the longest that still has not come?
Mine have fulfilled pretty quick, but it's probably Voidfall for me.
Okay.
That's not crazy long, right? I think when did that Kickstarter run? I can't even remember.
I think it was last year.
Yeah. Okay, it funded October 2021, October 18th, 2021.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, a year and a half? That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's definitely my
that's longer than I expected it to be. I was thinking it was relatively recent.
So that one's going to take a full 2 years, I think, to fulfill. So that's my longest.
Darwin's Journey was the longest for me of any game that I've waited on from Kickstarter. And it's probably the longest one up till this point. I think Arcs is probably next for me, but that's relatively recent too. It's still being developed. I think that one's going to take long though.
Yeah. I think for me it would be Seventh Citadel. That thing's taken forever. The sequel for Seventh Continent. October 15th, 2020 for Seventh Continent. Or Seventh Citadel. That's probably my longest one that's still outstanding.
You back these projects and you just kind of forget about them until you start seeing stuff online. You're like, oh yeah, that's going to fulfill soon.
Yeah.
So
I was
Kickstarter is
saying,
kind of a weird thing. I don't know.
I was saying the other day, I haven't received one for. It's been too long for how many I have outstanding. I need them to start showing up.
Well, I got one yesterday. My Sleeve Kings order arrived, so I've got all kinds of sleeves that are sitting in a box. So that one's not as fun. You can't really play.
That's got to be the most boring Kickstarter of all. Come on.
Whatever, Tyson.
No, it's great because then you got this supply of sleeves that's going to last forever, which it's awesome.
Did you diversify your Sleeve Kings, or did you just get a couple
I got
sets?
The 88 10s because those are by far the most popular. So I got a bunch of those. And then I made sure to get enough sleeves for Cthulhu Death May Die when it comes, because those are kind of odd shaped sleeves or larger sleeves that aren't as common. So that's kind of what I focused on.
Cool. Well, should we get into what we've been playing lately?
Let's do it.
Again?
I'll go first because I'll talk about a game that I really enjoyed that I know was not necessarily enjoyed by the others at this table. What I'm talking about is Night of the Ninja. Recently, we had a big board game night, and we had a lot of people over. Night of the Ninja is a game designed by Justin Gary. It's published by Brotherwise Games, and it plays 1 to 11 players. So,
but why not 12?
I can tell you exactly why not 12, because you have odd numbers. I think the game is even more interesting than even numbers. So you add a Ronin card. I'll get to how this game plays here in a second. We played a game of 6, so we didn't get to play at the odd player count. But essentially, Night of the Ninja, what it is the overview says, it's the Night of the Ninja. 2 houses battle for honor. You must kill the members of the opposing house before they kill you. The challenge, you don't know who's an enemy and who's an ally. So it's a social deduction game. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you know that I love social deduction games, particularly social deduction games that play in the 30 to 45 minute range category. I like that kind of quick, let's play multiple rounds of these. That's what this game is. Now, how is this different, you might ask, than say like Werewolf or Resistance or Secret Hitler or any of those other plethora amount of social deduction board games? In this game, what happens is every round, everybody is dealt a roll. So you could, in one round, be one roll, and then the next round, you could be an opposite roll. And additionally, I think in this game, what stands it out from other social deduction games is that dying may be the best way to play this game. And that is fascinating to me because a lot of social deduction games, once you're out and you're dead, you don't get to contribute, you don't get to talk, you don't get to participate, and that can be a little deflating. You want to get back into the game. In this, there are reasons why I've wanted to die and be able to sacrifice myself. So essentially, each game, what's going to happen is you're assigned a house card, either the Lotus House or the Crane House. In an odd number of players, you also have potentially a Ronin card. It's a single card that one player is going to be given, which they act independently of any of the houses. Each house card has a number on it, from 1 to however many players you play, 1 to 5. If you're playing a 10-player or 11-player game, it's 1 to 5. The way this game works is you're trying to make your team win. So if Lotus is your team, you want the highest number, or rather the lowest number Lotus card to be able to win. So number 1, you want the first card to be able to stay alive the longest. The house that has the lowest number at the end of a round that is still alive is going to win collectively. Everybody then draws a shuriken, which has a point value on it. The first single player to get to 10 points wins the game. Each round, what's going to happen is everybody's going to start by drafting cards. You have 3 cards that you're dealt at the beginning of the game, and you choose one, and then you pass the next one to the left. Then you choose a second one and discard it. So you only get 2 cards for an entire round. Every round, what's going to happen is there are several different types of cards. You have spy cards, mystic cards, tricksters, blind assassins, and shinobis. Essentially, the first part of the game, spy mystics, they're grabbing information. Tricksters can sometimes grab it as well. They're the only category of card that is unique in every card that is played. But the blind assassin and the shinobi cards are the cards that kill people. So at the start of the round, everybody's trying to gather information, and by the end of the round, everybody's trying to kill the people that they want to have killed. All the while, you're trying to figure out who is on your team and who is not on your team. So there's a lot of potential for table talk in this game, which I like. If you don't have a group that's going to be able to table talk, you're not going to be able to play this game effectively, I don't think. But I have had a lot of fun with this. I mentioned already that one of the cool things is that you want to die. There was one moment in the game that we played where somebody revealed a mystic card, which allowed them to look at a player's card, and it allowed them to understand what role they were. I got to look at somebody else's card, the number 1 of the opposite house as me, and I knew what they had, and I was the lowest number, or I was the worst number. So I knew that if somebody killed me, that was worth it. So I wanted all the attention on me so that nobody else on my team would take any flack or die. And so at one point, the player who I did get to see his number 1 card, he got a card that said he could kill anybody, blind assassin. And he asked me, "Do I want to kill you?"
Yeah, that was funny.
And I said, "Yes, you absolutely want to kill me."
He's like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually that answer would always be no under normal circumstances.
Right. But it confused him, and he was like, "Wait, why would I want to kill you? If you're on my team, I wouldn't want to kill you, right? But if you're not on my team, I would want to kill you. So are you telling the truth or not?" So it was this, you could see that there was this question in his head, and it wasn't apparent. And he went, and he ultimately decided to kill me. And I revealed my card, and he saw that I was the opposite house as him, and that I had the worst number on it, which immediately made him realize that he just put a target on his back, because additionally, the card that he played, actually, I think it was a trickster card, which made it so that he could kill somebody in the trickster phase, but he had to reveal what his was. And so he revealed what his card was, which was the number 1 of his house, which then put all eyes on him to be killed, which was, I thought, was a fantastic moment. It was a great reason for me to want to die, and I thought that was an interesting way to play a social deduction game.
At one point, I had 3 shurikens and 7 points, 3 away from winning, and I thought if I could get one more, I'd win. I had the monk and thought it was the martyr one, so I was hoping I'd get assassinated so I could draw a shuriken. Well, that did happen. I got assassinated, but come to find out it was a different monk and ability, and I should have been paying closer attention. I had fun with it. Obviously, I don't love social deduction games as much as Tyson does. Most of the game, I had assassin cards and not spy cards. There were rounds because the assassin go later in the turn structure where I barely got a turn. I found myself wishing that each round lasted a little longer.
So I'm with you, Tyler, on this one. It's just not a genre that I enjoy. It's pretty low on the list for me. It's good, just probably not a game that I'd go back to.
I talked to one of the guys we played with, Matt, who the next day he was like, "I'm gonna buy that game. What's it called again?" Like he went out and like he was looking to get it. But I do think it is a group dependent game, and it absolutely, like, you have to have the right group. And I think the reason why I like social deduction and the space that I like in a social deduction is that it gives you space to talk, table talk, playing in your head. That's where I really like these styles of games. And I think that Night of the Ninja does a really good job at opening that space so that you can use the system, but then manipulate it to your advantage so that you can play in a way that is enjoyable to you.
There was one time where I was putting out an argument trying to get Doug not to listen to Matt, and that discourse was fun. I did my best to argue with Matt's logic, but ultimately Doug decided to go with what Matt was saying. This game does have some good moments like that.
And I noticed you did that on one round where I was like, I have no good logical argument that I can put up. And you were, I think we were on the same team in this round. And I was like, please do whatever you can, because I don't know how to make an argument for this, because this was Matt again. He had figured out exactly what had happened, and he had 100% information that he knew everybody at the table.
Yeah, it was fun trying to argue with him and trying to persuade Doug, even though it failed. Logan got home late that night, and so he didn't get a chance to play with us. But when he was watching the tail end of our game, I'm pretty sure he asked you, Tyson, to bring it to game night next time.
And I would happily, because I think this does a lot of really fun, cool stuff. And if you like social deduction games, I think Night of the Ninja is worth checking out. That's Night of the Ninja by Brotherwise Games.
Kevin, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I got a game played by a little-known designer called Reiner Knizia. This is called Ingenious. So Ingenious was, it's a game that I've had forever. I think I picked this one up in 2007. And it was this game, Ingenious, and then Blockus that my wife and I picked up. And it kind of kickstarted this whole, I don't know, the getting into hobby board gaming, right? And finding out all these crazy games that exist that I had no idea existed. So Ingenious it's an abstract strategy game. The way it works is you have a board, and the board scales depending on the players. There's a bunch of hexes that are on the board, and there's these hex tiles that you get as well. And these hex tiles are 2 hexes put together, and there is a shape, and each shape has a color on these tiles. So to start the game, you draw 6 of these tiles from a bag, and you put them in front of you. And then when it comes to your turn, you select one of those tiles, and you place it on next to one of these pre-printed symbols that are on the board. And then you score points. So the way that points work is if you place next to the same color and shape, then there's 5 directions that come around this hex. You follow one of those directions, and as many of that color that is in a continuous line, you're going to get points for that color and that shape. And then you have a score tracker that you're going to be moving a cube up along this score tracker. So you play a tile, and then you draw a tile, and it goes to the next player. The next player places next to one of these pre-printed spots on the board. They get points, and then it goes back to you. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to set yourself up where you place a tile, and you score in these long rows, and you move these cubes, these colored cubes, along the score track as high as you can get. The thing that was really cool and kind of blew my mind about this game was that end game scoring. Like, you win if you move your lowest tile higher than your lowest cube higher than anybody else. So you score. You're trying to move everything up equally on this score track. And I'd never seen that before. I hadn't seen that kind of scoring mechanism, and now that's probably fairly common in a lot of games. You see that scoring mechanism.
I feel like it's happened a lot more in games lately that mechanism has come out. But I think you're right. That's probably one of the first times that's ever been used.
Right, and I think you see a lot of these mechanisms in Reiner Knizia games that get copied from other games that come later.
Well, I was going to say
he's a pretty good designer, I guess you could say.
I mean, right. It doesn't matter if he's a bad designer, because he's made so many games that he just averages out. Like you're going to get a good game no matter what out of him, at least at some point. He has so many games. Yeah. I've seen some of his games in development before as well, and some of them don't have any like theme on them, and then you see them get theme added throughout the development process, and that's kind of an interesting thing to see. But he does mechanics so well, I think, that he can create something and then somebody can pick it up and just go with it. I feel like Ingenious, though, doesn't have a whole lot of theme to it, but it doesn't have to. It can work really well independent of theme, his designs.
Yeah, it's strictly an abstract strategy game, right? There's really no theme that I can see on it at all. which is fine. A lot of abstract strategy games don't have theme. You're just playing for the mechanics. And I think that the mechanics in this one is really good. It's a lot of fun to, get these big scores when you're placing tiles. There's a blocking in the game. You don't want to set up your opponents to get big scores. So you're going to kind of block off these rows that start growing and growing. It's a fun game. It's a fun game. And I'm glad. It's going to be one that stays in my collection, I think, forever. It's really good.
It's a good game if it's almost 20 years old and you're still playing it.
Yeah, right. The box is a little worse for where I stepped on it at some point.
No.
I actually remember when it happened. I'm like, no. So the side of the box is crushed. And it's funny. I got out. It's been a while since I played it. I got the game out and played it with my daughter. And I looked on the board and there's these like stains from food and stuff. I'm like, holy cow. It pained my soul slightly. But I'm like, if you have a game, like I said, I picked this up in 2007. So I've had this game for 15, 16 years now. And it's been played a lot. So, you have a game that long, and if you play it enough, it's going to show some wear, which I don't mind. It shows that we're playing it and having a good time with it. So it's a good one. If you like abstract strategy, if you like Reiner Knizia, I think it's worth a shot to give it a try. So that is Ingenious.
Nice. So my son loves Unmatched. He's got, I don't know, 80 or 90% of the sets. He kept asking me, when's For King and Country coming out? That For King and Country has Black Panther and Winter Soldier and Black Widow. And he kept asking me, he gave me some money to buy it. And he kept asking me, when's it coming out? And I just kept telling him, May or June. And then I saw that it finally showed up. So I had it shipped. And then I surprised him a couple days ago with it and was like, all right, let's play. And he was super excited. Unmatched, if you're not familiar with it, is from Restoration Games. This particular one is designed by Rob Davio and Justin D. Jacobson. The artists are Sanford Green and Ian O'Toole. So if you're not familiar with Unmatched, it is a card game where you play as a character against your opponents. Whichever character you choose, they have a customized deck that's very thematic for that character. And then there's a board and you have a character miniature, and you might have a companion or two or three that you're moving around. I think in this one, Black Widow had Maria Hill, and Black Panther had his sister Shuri. And you're moving around this board and you're just trying to do enough damage to eliminate the other players. So each card that you have in your deck has a special action. Some of them are attack cards. Some of them are defense cards. Some of them are versatile cards where they can be played either attack or defense. And then you have scheme cards that let you do something special. And you get a couple of actions per turn. You can maneuver, which lets you draw a card. And then move. And then you can also use a scheme card if you have a scheme card or if you're on a scheme location on the board, or you can attack opposing players in range. And so if you decide to attack, you choose an attack card out of your hand, you put it down face down. The player you're attacking can defend. If they put a card down, you then reveal both cards, and if your damage outweighed their defense, then you'll do damage and they'll lose health. However, each card has an ability that might have an effect. I thought it was really cool. Black Panther, when you attack him, just like in the movies, when you attack him, his vibranium suit, sometimes he can play defense cards that absorb your attack, and they let him take that attack card, store it in his suit, and then use it later to boost his own attacks, which is very similar to what we saw in the Marvel movies. Winter Soldier was really powerful. He was really cool. None of his effects could be canceled. Each deck usually has cards that can cancel other players' attacks and effects. And his cards, they can't be canceled. That's his special ability, but some of them are negative for him. So he's kind of this dual character. He's got good things and bad things going on with his cards. Black Widow had mission cards that were her scheme cards. that would give her extra rewards. So like one of them is the Budapest Gambit. If you have 2 or few other cards in your hand, you get to draw 5 cards. So one of Moscow Protocol, an opposing fighter took damage this turn, draw 1 card and gain 1 active acquire a new mission. So as she completes these tasks or these missions, she gets rewards throughout the game. So that was pretty cool. I've played this not as much as my son has. He plays it all the time with his friends, which is awesome. When I play with him, he just wipes the floor with me. He destroys me, cleans my clock. But it's just such a fun and great experience to play. Have you guys had a chance to play Unmatched at all?
Yeah, I demoed it at Origins last year. So a very abbreviated game. Didn't get, the full feel of how it plays, but just got a little taste of it. So it looked fun.
And I've never played Unmatched, but I did play the game that Unmatched was based off of. So Restoration Games, if you don't know, it takes games that existed in one form before and then restores them into a new form. So Unmatched is the restored form of Star Wars Epic Duels. And I played Star Wars Epic Duels, and I really enjoyed playing that. I think I played as Han and Leia in that game against... I think it was just Luke in the other one who I was playing against. And I remember thinking that this was a lot of fun, and it was fun to be able to mix and match your characters and do different things. But the thing about Unmatched that I think is way better, I don't know mechanically how different they are, but it sounds like because of how expandable Unmatched is, it has a lot of potential to get a lot more involved into that system, and you can see a lot more variability with the different characters and things like that you can include in that. And I think that's really cool of that system.
Yeah, this one it reminds me of Dice Throne a little bit, right? Just because it's more of a 2-player game. I think it shines at 2-player. It seems like the mechanics really match the theme. So I played the Marvel version of Dice Throne. I was Loki, and some of the stuff that I was doing with Loki, the trickster god, was like casting illusions and tricking people and stuff like that. And it was just really cool and really fun to play as that character. And like you said, Tyson, it's infinitely expandable with all the different things that have come out with Dice Throne as well. So it kind of gives me the same vibes as that one.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one and also Funkoverse, where you got like B. Arthur from Golden Girls fighting against a T-Rex and stuff like that.
Yeah, just crazy stuff, which is awesome to get those mashups. I just think that's so much fun. Yeah. So that is pretty cool.
I think Unmatched does a really good job. I mean, with how many characters that they put out, it's hard to have a perfect balance, but I think they do a really good job of trying to balance these characters, making the decks very thematic. And it seems like it's kind of an evergreen at this point for them, or at least will be going forward. I know that they have plans to continue to release more. But one thing that I thought was really cool, they recently kickstarted Unmatched Adventures, which is a co-op Unmatched game. I back that. Like I said, Logan loves Unmatched. So I think this one is perfect for playing as a family going forward once it funds. I'm looking forward to that one. And I think you can use your characters. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can use your existing characters from your Unmatched sets with the Unmatched Adventures game.
That's awesome sounding. I think the only thing that's held me back from getting this game and getting it for myself is the same thing with any other 2-player game, is that I don't often get 2-player games to the table. And I know that Unmatched does have the ability to play at like 4 players if you want, but from everything I've heard, that it's really not worth it to play at different player counts other than 2 players. Would you say that's true, Tyler?
For me personally, I love playing it at 2-player. 3-player, I'll read a book on the couch. 4-player, I don't love as much because it seems like one side or the other kind of focuses on one character, eliminates them, and then it turns into a 2v1 game a little bit. But having said that, that's how Logan and his buddies usually play is 2v2, and they love it. So there must be something there. They have a great time doing that, and they are always switching up characters and battling it out 2v2. He'll come home sometimes after being over at friends, and he'll be like, yeah, and we played this. We played 3 games of Unmatched, and then we switched up and, played Vast or something else, and then went back to Unmatched and played 3 more games. So they are loving it. I think there's something there. It's not for me at 2v2 or 3-player versus, but I think it shines at 2-player.
Well, perhaps I've stood corrected a little bit here, but I would be interested in trying this out then at 4 players. Probably won't go out and buy it until I try your copy at least, before I can make that decision for myself.
Well, don't start with Deadpool or Bruce Lee, because they are a hot commodity, and those are out of print, and I don't think they're ever coming back. So
stay away from those.
Unless I want to spend a small fortune.
That is correct. Yep.
Speaking of adventures, I've been playing a game called Paperback Adventures. Whoa. Paperback Adventures is a game that is a solo game. We've talked within the last couple of episodes about a bunch of solo games, but this solo game is probably, I'm not going to bury the lead here, probably one of the best, if not the best solo game that I've ever played.
Whoa.
I love this game. It is... So Paperback Adventures is based off of some of the mechanisms that were created by Tim Fowers in his design Paperback or Hardback, which was published by Fowers Games. Similarly, Paperback Adventures is published by Fowers Game. It's designed by Sky Larson and Tim Fowers. This game is a solo-only game. In it is deck building and kind of like a legacy experience. But it is, if you've ever heard of or played Slay the Spire, this is they call this a roguelike experience. Essentially what you're doing in Paperback Adventures is you take on the role of Paige Turner. That's the name of the author that you're representing, is Paige Turner. Wow. Get it? Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek in this game, but you take on the role of Paige Turner, an author who has writer's block, and you are trying to construct your novel and your paperback adventure over a series of books. Every game you play is going to take 6 battles, essentially, and each of these battles are represented by books. So in the first book, you're going to fight a book 1 lackey, in the second, and a book 1 boss. And then you go through book 2 the same way. Book 2 lackey, book 2 boss, book 3 lackey, book 3 boss. 6 different unique characters. Every copy of Paperback Adventures is going to come with a core box and then additional character boxes. So think Final Girl. And speaking of Final Girl, I will say that what Final Girl does, I love Final Girl. It's probably neck and neck between whether or not Final Girl or Paperback Adventure is my favorite solo game. But where Final Girl is the best thematic experience from a solo game that I've ever had, Paperback Adventures is the best mechanic experience that I've had from a solo game. So essentially, each game you're running through and trying to defeat characters. Every time that you're playing this game, you are going to face off with unique different combinations of characters. So in the first book, each book has 3 different characters in the core box. So for 3 different lackeys and 3 different bosses for the book 1 stuff. And then each character box that you have, which there is the Ex Machina box, the Plot Hook box, and the Damsel box. Each of those boxes will also add a unique lackey and a unique boss for each book throughout the game. So you have like a lot of different potential combination of characters and lackeys and things that you can combine in this game. The interesting part about this game is that your deck of cards consists of letters. only letters in that you're trying to spell words. So this is also a word game. Each round you're going to draw 4 cards, unless you can modify your way to be able to draw more cards, like any good deck builder should. And you're going to try and construct a word based off of these 4 letters that you have drawn. Each boss also has a unique vowel that they're weak against. So one boss may be weak against A's, another boss may be weak against I's, and that vowel is always available. So you always have a vowel at least available to be able to put into your deck. And then you always get a random wild card that you can put in your deck. But you may or may not want to spend those cards because they can help you. The game is not necessarily about building the longest word. It's building the strongest word, because each card on the cards has, on the left side or the right side, symbols. On the left side, you're going to see defense symbols, and on the right side, you're going to see attack symbols primarily. You can also see energy symbols. So you're going to go through and try and construct your words based off of what you need to do that round. The enemies all have a specific attack that they're going to go through, and you can see ahead of time everything that they're going to do. So you're pre-planning what you're doing, trying to combat their attacks and attack them when they're most vulnerable, and going through it that way. And it's really interesting. Each card, in addition to being a letter and having symbols on it, also has a unique ability, and each of these can be upgraded. So you're going through the game trying to upgrade and make your cards more powerful, and you're adding new cards to your deck. As a deck builder, you're not doing a whole lot of deck building in the individual fights that you're going through, but you are doing deck building throughout it. So you're trying to cater your deck to be able to go through and beat all of them, because health is persistent throughout this game. So if you lose 10 health, which is a lot, to a boss or a lackey in an earlier game, you've lost that for basically the entirety of your run, and you're trying to survive with all your health as you go through this game. So getting to the final boss can be difficult to do that. I've played this game in the last 7 days that I've owned this game. I've sat down at the table with it 9 times, but technically that's only 2 games that I've played, because each game, it consists of 6 battles in it, up to 6 battles. If you lose, you lose and die, and that's your loss. My biggest complaint, I think, about this game is that it is hard to table. If you don't have, like, I have a vault, a table with a vault in it, so I can lock this away and store it, and then play a lackey, and then play a boss, and then store it away for the night. If you don't have a situation like that, it might be hard to do this game. Now, the storage solution is pretty decent in terms of it will save, and that's fine. But this game has so much going on that I haven't even touched on some of the stuff that you can acquire, the MacGuffin cards, the item cards, the additional library letter cards that you can get, boss MacGuffin cards, different things that you can buff up and build your deck so that you're prepared to fight whatever's coming down the road. And I love this game. I could talk about this game for a long, long time and tell you all of its merits, but this game was recommended to me by a friend, Ken, who he said, "Hey, this is a really great game. You should check it out." And so I bought it at his recommendation. And then I started looking at like playthrough videos of it and reading about it. And I even reading through the rules and watching a playthrough video, I was like, what is this game? It doesn't even look like it has anything good about it. And I watched through a full playthrough, and I couldn't find why somebody would want to play it until I started playing it, and then it all clicked, and I love this game. It's really great.
Yeah, looking at it, I'm not a huge fan of the art style.
Yeah, it's like a weird 1930s cartoon style.
Yep.
Some people might be drawn to it.
I'm not. There was nothing appealing to me about this game. Unless I had received a recommendation from Ken, I would not have picked this game up. And I think that that's a complete shame. If you are looking at it at face value and you don't pick it up because it looks like unappealing to you, you're doing yourself a disservice here.
Yeah, I see a picture here of cards that have like grappling hook, magic beans, miniature heart, dashing boots, but does it have fireproof pants like Cthulhu Death May Die?
No, unfortunately, there are no fire. At least I haven't discovered it. But there is a huge stack of cards that, like, I haven't even gone through everything in this game. I've played through it and put tens of dozens of hours into this game already, and like,
it looks like there's definitely pop culture references. I see a red shirt. So, I mean, everybody knows that in Star Trek, there's the red shirts, right? And the red shirts are always the guys that die. So, yeah, it looks like there's all kinds of pop culture references in there. So it's cool. I like it.
There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek in this, and if you like that kind of thing, I picked up the Ex Machina character box, which has a lot of the sci-fi kinds of references and things like that in there. But like the damsel is more of the fantasy stuff, and then Plot Hook is a pirate one. So it's, again, tongue-in-cheek type of stuff in here, and it's really great. I will say that another knock on this game is that it even comes with sleeves that are really good, but like, and you have to have it sleeved because of the gameplay elements. You have to be able to do that. There's a finite amount of sleeves in the game. There's exactly enough sleeves for the amount of cards in the game. And like I said, you're upgrading the game or the cards, and so you're constantly taking cards out of their sleeves and putting them back in their sleeves. And I'm terrified I'm going to rip one. And they have unique backs that are like, they're not just like a plain back. They have really beautiful art backs. But like, if I rip a sleeve, I can't replace it because I can't find that unique sleeve. They don't like you.
They don't have like a you can buy.
They might on the publisher website, but I haven't seen. It's hard to navigate the publisher website as well for the items. I've been trying to see what they have, but I haven't been very successful with that. But like this game, again, if you're looking at it just at face value and you see it, it may not be the best. Because I remember the Kickstarter and I passed on it, but I wish I hadn't, because I would have gotten a way better deal and I could have gotten all of the extra content. So it's also a pricey kind of a entry, because similar to Final Girl, you have to have the core box and you have to have at least one of the character boxes to be able to play the game.
Very nice.
But yeah, that's Paperback Adventures. I highly recommend this game.
So another game I got played with Logan is Thunderstone Quest. This is from AG. Alderac Entertainment Group. It's the third in the line of Thunderstone games. I didn't play the previous two, Thunderstone and Thunderstone Advance.
Both great, I thought.
Nice.
Yep.
So I saw that this was doing a Kickstarter for new scenarios last year. I backed the Kickstarter, and I initially was going to buy the base game. I decided to just change it to the scenarios, and I bought the base game so I could play it before the Kickstarter fulfills. It was on my top 5 Shelf of Shame list for this year. I got it played. So basically, it's a fantasy adventure deck builder. You start out with 12 cards. You have 6 level 0 adventure cards. And one of the things that you can do is upgrade those to specific classes like wizard and rogue and cleric and stuff. And so you can upgrade those adventures to more powerful heroes, and then you can upgrade those heroes to even higher levels heroes, right? So you got like dwarves and elves and half elves and stuff. Basically, it's really pretty simple. You have a choice at the beginning of your turn of whether you're going to go to the village and heal up and buy new items or advance your heroes, or you're going to go questing to the dungeon. And so when you go to the dungeon, there's different monsters that are laid out, 6 different monsters, and they get progressively more powerful. The further into the dungeon that you go, you have to have more light, and it takes more to kill those monsters, and they'll generally do more damage the further you go in. And, the rewards are incredible. One thing that stands out to me right away when we got this set up is the village with the cards that are available. It's spells and weapons and items. It looks like Aeon's End a little bit. Very similar layout there. Obviously, you can also upgrade the heroes, so that's a little bit different. And then you can also buy really expensive treasure cards that you also get from defeating more complicated monsters. We play
It's not cooperative though, right?
It's not. No, it's competitive. Sorry.
Right. Yep.
There is a co-op expansion or a scenario that you can buy, but I don't have that. So I've got a few different scenarios, and I've got a few more coming. You can play it kind of as a campaign. Each deck of cards has like 3 scenarios, I think, in the scenario book associated with it. And then once you've played it, you now have all of those cards available to you for when you just play a random one-off game. So we play the beginner like, only start with these cards. And my first experience was so-so, right? It wasn't that exciting to me. Like I could see the potential, but I was like, we got to play this again. So we played the first scenarios in the campaign, and it was amazing. Getting super powerful cards. We added in like the side quests and like the guild rewards for when you complete different tasks and stuff, and more spells and more items and weapons than what the beginner, first starter game had. Right off the bat, you can cull your deck pretty easily, which I love. That has to be in deck building games, right? And that makes it so much more fun. I got this card, may be a little OP. Obviously, my sample size is 1 game with it, but I got this Alpha Prince Lycanthrope dude. He did 10 damage by himself, which was a lot. But before the battle, there's the effect on his card that the highest level hero in your hand will also die. Because he's the Alpha Prince, he doesn't want anybody challenging him, so he kills your strongest hero in your hand, which is very, he's a super powerful card, but you can also wipe out a lot of your powerful heroes.
There's a cost associated.
Yes.
Yeah, it balances a little bit.
I was very lucky with this card. There were a number of times where I drew that card and didn't have another hero in my deck, or there was a way for me to play a different card and get rid of the only hero in my deck, or protect them with a specific item so that they couldn't be destroyed. I don't know. I got this super powerful deck. It was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to explore the other content and the other decks of cards that I have.
Sounds like you were in Eschaton terms marking his Manticore kind of experience.
It was a little bit of that, but I went on BGG, and there's a forum post about the Alpha Prince, and it seemed like there were a lot of people arguing, well, that hasn't been my experience. And like I said, I only played once with him. I got extremely lucky, so it felt very OP in that one game.
It does sound like it has a good little trade-off there that could potentially be pretty damaging to you if you get like one of your better cards out there at the same time.
I love, it's a great deck builder. We love deck building games. This is a fantastic game. I love, there's like the little card holders when you go to put away the decks of card that have the name of what the card is sticking
kind
up,
like Seventh Continent,
the dividers.
kind of
dividers.
Yeah.
Dividers.
Sorry, dividers.
Like Aeon's End has those as well, which I think should be included in every deck builder.
Yes, and it made it so easy to get out this game, get it set up, get it played, but then to put it away is just like, okay, I need the swords. Okay, I need the bows. Okay, you just go down the line and you've got the game put away in like 5 minutes. It's fantastic.
Drives me nuts that Fantasy Flight games do not include dividers. I mean, you can get, like we've talked about the Arkham Horror LCG.
Right.
You can get certain expansions have some dividers, but most of them do not, and it almost makes the game unplayable if you don't have a way to divide your game. So I had to go to BGG and print off dividers and get them laminated and cut them all out.
Wait,
and
you'll laminate your dividers, but you won't laminate your cards?
I'm going to ignore that comment. But yeah, it's the fact that it comes with that is awesome. I like Thunderstone in Thunderstone Advance. I played those quite a bit. And so Thunderstone came out right after Dominion. It was the kind of the second big deck builder. And a big knock against Dominion is there's really no theme in that game. Like you can kind of imagine some things, but it doesn't really matter.
Plus one this, plus one that.
Yeah.
Like on an estate.
And all of the art is like inconsistent, and it's like, whatever. It's about the gameplay in that one. Thunderstone is very thematic.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is thematic, and you kind of feel that theme. Like you talk about going to the dungeon. The fact that you need light in order to get further in the dungeon is really cool.
Yeah.
And you can buy torches, and you can, at least in the games that I play, you can buy torches, you can buy spells that give light and different things like that, which is really cool. And you can actually get into the theme.
Yeah. It's amazing how far deck builders have come from Dominion, and I'm not a Tyler and a complete Dominion hater, but I do think that deck builders have an ability to pull into their theme better than a lot of other basic mechanics. I think like it's an easy one to pull into. I think of like Clank. Clank has such good thematic ties, all of the different Clanks. And then like you have a ton of deck builders now out there that part of it is the theme. Dune pulls onto that theme really well. Lost Ruins of Arnak, maybe not as well, but like it's.
Oh, I think it does.
It does all right.
I think it does pretty good as well. Well, the cool thing about card games and deck builders.
Oh yeah.
Dude, we could be here another hour if we start talking about Undaunted. More to come on that. But like the fact that deck builders have just tons of cards that give the chance to put art on those cards, as long as they're big enough that you can see the art, that is, if it's good art, it adds to the theme of the game. It really does. If it's bad art, then not so much. But if it's good art and it's executed well, that's another thing that adds to the theme. Yeah, which is cool.
And so, like I mentioned, Aeon's End, like the similar market of very similar items that are available. One more comparison, I would just say the art is a step up from the Aeon's End art.
Sure.
And obviously Aeon's End is cooperative. So that's awesome to introduce new players to, because you can teach them just like any cooperative game as you start playing, right?
Yep.
But yeah, while I was playing this, I was thinking a lot about Aeon's End, and I was like, man, if you like Aeon's End, if you like deck builders, like Thunderstone Quest, it's a great game. I haven't opened up all the packages of cards that I have, but like I opened up the dividers and I'm looking through those and all the different spells and the heroes and the monsters. And I was, dude, there's a ton of content here. And I don't even I think there's up to like 13 scenario decks. When the Kickstarter fulfills, I'll have 5 or 6 of them. So
I still haven't played Aeon's End, but of the two, I'm going to lean more towards Thunderstone given the competitive nature of it. But like, I love deck builders. Both of these games sound phenomenal.
Yeah. Aeon's End, though, I mean, it's got that cool concept of how the order I play my cards in, that's how they're coming out.
You never shuffle your deck.
That is so unique.
Amazing. And the variable turn order.
Yeah, so that is Thunderstone Quest from AG.
So I think that wraps up everything that we've been playing lately. Let's move on into Darwin's Journey, starting with Kevin with a rules breakdown for us.
Darwin's Journey is designed by Simone Luciani and Nestor Mangoni. It's published by ThunderGryph Games with art done by Paolo Boto. Darwin's Journey is a big game with a lot of rules. I'm not going to explain everything in detail, but we'll try and give an overview of the main concepts and how the game plays. Darwin's Journey is a worker placement game where players recall Charles Darwin's memories of his adventures through the Galapagos Islands, where he developed his theory of evolution. With an innovative worker progression system, each worker studies the disciplines required to perform many actions in the game, such as island exploration, ocean navigation, and correspondence. Throughout the game, players gather specimens from the land and sea to facilitate further scientific research. These specimens are then delivered to museums to contribute to humanity's knowledge of biology. The game lasts 5 rounds. In each round, the players work toward numerous short and long-term objectives. At the end of the game, the player with the most victory points will be the winner. Each round of Darwin's Journey has 4 phases: action, turn order, reward, and cleanup. During the action phase, players send their workers to a wide variety of locations across the Galapagos Islands, where they explore and conduct research. During the turn order phase, player turn order is adjusted based on who sent workers to the turn order location during the action phase. During the reward phase, players receive benefits based on their correspondence with the scientific community and their progress toward the current Beagle goal. Finally, during the cleanup phase, players prepare the game for the start of the next round, or proceed to final scoring after all 5 rounds have been completed. During the action phase, there are a variety of different actions players can take that are organized into 4 types: board actions, special actions, crew actions, and objective actions. Board actions include unlocking lenses, which allow more worker placement spots to be opened. Visiting the academy, allowing players to purchase wax seals for worker rows. Wax seals will allow workers to be more specialized to meet the wax seal requirements of certain locations. They could also help contribute to the completion of crew cards, giving in-game benefits. Players can navigate their ship along the ocean track or an explorer along a corresponding island track. Moving along the tracks can unlock actions, allow you to research Galapagos specimens, advance on the theory of evolution track, establish campsites, and receive other benefits. Players can move stamps from their personal board to a single envelope on the main board, allowing possible end-of-round bonuses. Players can also deliver a specimen to the museum, research museum specimens, reserve a spot on the turn order track, or gain new objectives. Special actions and crew actions will allow you to gain special purple wax seals, repeat delivery of a specimen, perform locked actions, and a number of other things. Objective actions can be completed if a player has met the requirements on an objective tile. Objective actions could allow you to redo the action of a previously placed tent, score endgame victory points, place a research token on any specimen on your player board, and many other actions. In the reward phase, players gain rewards for correspondence majorities and beagle goals. 3 envelopes give rewards to players with the most and second most stamps on each envelope. Players receiving rewards must remove half of their stamps, rounded up, for each reward taken. The beagle goal tile, directly below the HMS Beagle's position on the ocean track, is then scored. Each player gains the indicated number of victory points each time they meet the current goal's condition. The gained points may be reduced by penalties depending on the relative position of the player's ships to the HMS Beagle. After the 5th round is complete, players proceed to final scoring. Players get points for items achieved on their personal player board, placement on the theory of evolution track, and for coins and temporary knowledge. The person with the most points is the winner. That's a brief summary of some of the concepts in the game. Let's get back to the table to see what we thought of Darwin's Journey.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for that rules breakdown of Darwin's Journey. Let's talk about this game now and what some of the things that we like and don't like about Darwin's Journey. Let's start with the production.
I'm going to kick it off with something I don't like.
Oh, starting off with something you don't like, huh?
Yeah, no, look, it's a beautiful game. The components, everything's amazing. It's beautiful art. I love the production of the game outside of one thing.
Now, let's, before you jump into that, let's clarify. Are we talking about collector's edition or retail edition?
I think it's both.
I think it's
both.
I think I know what you're going to say, but I think it's probably both.
It's the score track.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. It's the worst.
Should go all the way around the board.
Why does it go to 50?
And it only goes to 50. And oftentimes you're scoring a 70-point or 75-point thing at the end of the game. And like, yeah, the math's not that hard, but when you're doing 4 scores and
at least make it go to 100.
Yeah.
Right.
It just, yeah. That's my only real complaint that I have.
That one is a true complaint, because I agree with that. That every game that we've had to calculate the score for at the end, because you are calculating a lot of points for everybody, it becomes, okay, let's count this, let's figure it out. It lengthens the time to be able to get to the conclusion of who won this game. Yeah. And that's the point. Like, the suspense is killing me at this point. Like, there have been several games that we've played where it's been a 1-point difference. And like, wait, did we calculate this right? Or how did it, like,
because you're moving your cube every 50, right? But in my mind, it should be every 100. And it's like, nope, I'm not at 100. I'm at 50, but I need to add 10 more to this. I'm 60. Yeah. It kind of just breaks my brain a little bit. It's like you said, Tyler, it's not hard math at all.
No,
but every other game that you play, it goes to 100.
But when you're sitting there going around the circle, adding everybody's scores, and you keep having to think, okay, I'm going up 70, so I really just going up 20 and moving this other piece once.
So it's a little bit strange. It was a strange design decision there.
And honestly, I don't know what the regular game looks like. I've played with your copy every time, Tyson, and you've got it all You've got the upgraded
I've got
Kickstarter.
a lot of upgraded bits to this game, and I will say that this game has a lot of beautiful, fantastic components when they're upgraded. I've got the wooden lens components, and we've got the rubber wax seal components, and we've got
those are awesome.
A lot of
really cool,
really great high quality components in here.
Do the wax seals stick together? Like do the colors? You know, if
I heard
like the
rumor.
blue ones stick to the blue ones, and the red ones stick to the red ones.
Tyson was adamant about this.
We did some testing though, and it found that it was not the case.
So here's the deal. That was actually the case when you open the box and you get the game. Like all the same color seals were stuck together. So I was worried that there was going to be
maybe some
distribution issue,
stickiness on the blue ones or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The wax seals, the rubber or whatever silicone wax seals do stick together when they're in the bag, and so. Placing them on the board, there could be some potential issue with like how random is this, but I thought at first, because when I opened it, almost all the same colors were stuck to all the same colors. And that's probably a factory production thing where, hey, we printed all the blue ones and so we bundled those and now we're going to count out and throw them in or whatever.
Yeah.
So
we disproved Tyson's hypothesis.
We did some testing and we disproved it.
We're still sticking to the same colors all the time.
So sure, randomly.
No.
Yeah.
I that's fair. But that is one complaint that I've heard from other people as well, is that those seals will stick together in the collector's edition. I've heard I've read in the Board Game Geek forums that some people opted to just play with the non-wax.
No way.
Like, when I first saw this game, that's the first thing I was drawn to. Yeah. I'm like, I picked one up and I'm like, what the? These are wax. These are actual like rubber, silicone. These are really cool. That's one of the things I like best about it.
I was sitting in the position for one game where I was the person drawing them, and I would just put them in my hand without looking at them, separate them if they felt like there were two together, and then pull out the next one out of my hand.
It's not a hard thing.
It wasn't
at all.
And no big deal.
Yeah. One thing I like about this game, I think the art is awesome. I think it's really well done. Like the box cover looks great. The board looks great. I just think it's, they just knocked it out of the park as far as art design goes. There's a few graphic design things that maybe that there are some issues, but the art itself I think is really good.
It's gorgeous, and I think they opted for more of an aesthetic, artistic representation than a graphic design kind of a thing intentionally. So, for example, I think one of the potential issues that makes it a little hard at times to play the game in some ways, at least for new players, and once you figure it out, it's not that hard, but every worker placement spot is represented by a magnifying glass or a lens. So a circle magnifying glass represents that anybody can go there, but there's a cost penalty for if somebody's already in that space. Whereas a square magnifying glass represents that anybody can go there, but there is no cost penalty for going to that space. And a lens means that only one person can go there, and there is a cost penalty for that. But there's no indication from a graphic design standpoint on the board that kind of shows you that. You just kind of have to remember that.
And that's what I did when I played it. I just remembered that those spots were like everybody could go there. Or I never once looked at the shape of a lens when I was playing. Right? I mean, but it's a small little thing.
But is it like there's no clue in there to kind of orient you towards that?
Yeah, there should be some indication on the board. Yeah, that would help out.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to touch on in production is the organization, right? So there are two versions of this, and I've seen both the retail version and the collector's edition. First of all, these boxes are so small.
They are so small.
What is contained in this game.
Yes.
And I applaud them for actually making that smaller footprint, and it doesn't take up, it's not an anachrony, it's not a giant Mind Clash game, though it has a lot of that same type of a vibe to it in that there's that much type of content, but it fits in what you would consider your standard board game box size, right?
When I played it the first time and saw the box, I'm like, what? That's the box for the deluxe edition? That's crazy.
I had the same reaction.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and so that is a plus, I think, to it. But I think it also has made it so that the insert is not as great because I have the collector's edition, and in the collector's edition, there's a bunch of like mini expansions and the Firelens expansion and other stuff that all goes in that same box. The rule book is also the same, like it's one rule book, which is kind of nice, but like it makes that rule book seem huge. But the insert doesn't separate it by expansions or by type, like base game information. So you have to come up with your own storage solution for how that works. And it's a little bit fiddly in that aspect, and it's hard to, if you don't go and look up a guide for how this is stored, how other people have stored their games, it can be confusing as where should I put certain components and things like that. Minor gripe, once you figure it out, it's fine. You get your own system going, it's fine, but it was a little bit, for being like a deluxe collector's edition, it felt a little bit weird to have all of that kind of hodgepodge thrown together.
That's fair.
I think we've harped enough on the production. I think for me, the most negative things that I was going to say about this game were going to be in the production. So let's move on to the gameplay element of this game and what we like about this game.
I'll start. So there's a lot to like about this game. One of the things that I think is really cool is how you specialize your workers with these seals. I hadn't seen that in a game before. I think it's really cool. All your workers are going to be different based on the color seal that you purchase for them. And then based on the color of the seals is where you can go. So there are these actions that are more powerful actions that have multiple seal requirements. In this last game that we played, I think it was like 2 green and 2 red or something, unlocked this ability where you could move your boat twice and you could move your guy along the islands.
Spammed that.
Oh yeah. So well, and it was cool because I was the only one. I knew I was the only one that could go there because you look around the board and my worker was upgraded. I'm the only one that can go there. I could wait on it for a little bit in the round because I knew nobody was going to swipe it from me, and then go there, do this really fun, cool move where I'm unlocking multiple things with my boat and unlocking multiple things with my guy around the island. It was just really cool. And I had this cool specialized worker, right? I thought that was kind of fun. I thought that's really cool.
One of my favorite parts is customizing the workers and trying to max out their capabilities and where they can go on the board for the actions. That's a lot of fun. And it's a very good way to score a lot of points as well.
If you can get your workers completely maxed out in their stats, essentially, you can score up to 30 points, which is a lot in this game.
I did that in a couple of games, and not only was it fun customizing them and making them more powerful so that they could go anywhere,
it was a viable score.
It scored a ton of points, yeah. So
yeah, and I think about it. I mean, we've talked about Anachrony quite a bit on this podcast. The cool thing I love about Anachrony is you have specific workers that do specific things, right? They're customized workers. This even kicks it up more, right? Yeah. Because you have more control over that. You have more control of how you customize them, and your strategy is kind of guided by what you're doing there, which is really cool.
The other thing with that customization of those workers that I really like is if you can get, this reminds me of Blood Rage to a little bit of an extent, if you can max it out all the way to the end of the track on that worker, there are 3 different columns at the end of that track that give you benefits. So you get a silver laurel, you get endgame points, and you get a gold laurel and more endgame points. So if you can unlock your worker to be a specialized worker with lots of different abilities, it also gets those silver and gold laurels, which when you place a worker with a silver and or gold laurel, it's going to unlock additional perks in this game for where you go to that action. For example, if you're moving around the islands and you have a worker that you place in the movement area, it now can move further and it can grab more stuff from the places it visits on the island, which I think is a really fun way to kind of play with those workers.
Agreed.
I love that some of the actions that are available are random each game. Those can influence and change what path you're going to go for. Sometimes they get used more than others, but they just change up the game so much from game to game and the experience that you have. And I still don't feel like I've seen them all. So I'm excited to play it more and see more of them and experience those, because that is just one of the coolest things.
I
love the variability in the game like that.
There's a lot, like those special action tiles is what you're talking about specifically. Is every game there are 6 special action tiles placed on the board, and they're going to be randomly put down. And there's something like 15 to 20 different special action tiles that you can choose from the box. So there's so much variability in there that you can put in there in your game. It vastly changes the game experience from one game to the next with that variability there alone. But then on top of that, you have other variability like the correspondence bonuses and things like that. Yeah. Those are different. And then the Beagle tiles where you're going on following the HMS Beagle on the ocean track, those are all different every game. There is tons of variability.
Yeah, it reminds me of a game we just reviewed, like Perseverance, episode 2 in Perseverance, where you have out in the beyond the wall or whatever, you have variable action spots that you can go there.
Yeah, I thought the same exact thing when I was thinking about my notes for this game.
Yeah. Yeah, which is awesome. That's what I think I loved most about episode 2 in Perseverance was that piece of it. And this is the same. It just adds, like you said, Tyler, variability, which is really cool. Some of them are really powerful. Like we had Darwin out there, and he was a sought after spot.
Because he's a moral worker off the bat.
We let Tyson use him too many times that game.
I think we did. Yeah.
But it is interesting how some of them are very useful early on in the game, and then there's some like in the first game that I played with you, Tyson, and a couple other people, there was one spot that was highly sought after in the last round.
It was that redeliver.
It was the redeliver, and turn order was so crucial. And you had first, and I knew where you were going to go. And I was just, I don't know, I was just hoping that it would be an oversight or something.
But it was interesting because Kevin and I in our last game that we played had that same tile in the game, but the researching action in that game was a lot less than in other games.
Yeah.
So people weren't using that tile the same way in that game just because of the different layout of the game. So like where it was like an amazing action at the end of the game that we played, Tyler, it was less sought out. I think it got used maybe once or twice maybe max in that game, which was interesting to see how the different setups make different paths more or less viable.
Like we were going after the goal tiles at the end.
Yes.
Like that was turn order was super important for those.
Those objective tiles.
Those objective tiles, right? Because you get towards the end of the game and a lot of times you flip over those objective tiles and you're like, I already have that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you see that other people already have it too. So you're like, oh, okay, am I going to take one of my workers and make sure I get first in the next round, or just so I have a better chance of getting objective tiles when they come?
Really well because of the Beagle goal tiles. The last Beagle goal tiles was scoring like 3 points for every completed objective you had.
Right. Yes.
Completed all of those really fast.
Yeah, that's so cool how it like you said, it changes every game. Even if you have the same tiles, maybe the Beagle goals are different. It changes up how you play. Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I love about this game though is there are so many rewarding choices. You can get objectives. You can move your guys on the islands to cool locations that give you rewards that let you chain stuff. The correspondence letters. I mean, customizing your worker. There are so many cool things to do. I love games where when it's not your turn and it's going around through everybody else and you're like, okay, I've got like 3 really good choices to choose from. Maybe one of them won't still be there by the time it gets back to me, but I've still got really good choices. And I love that in a game. Darwin's Journey is a game where I feel like there's always more that I want to do, but I'm always content and happy with the choices that I have available to me. And they, aside from 1 or 2 turns in all of my plays, they all my turns felt very rewarding, and I love that about this game.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that makes me think of one of my favorite things about this game as well. And you kind of touched on this.
I was going to mention this, and I think I know what it's going to be.
It's the chaining that you mentioned, right? I love that this game can make you feel super powerful in when you get something and you can do, you're like, I see this connection of if I take this action, it'll allow me to get a bonus action to do this, then it'll allow me to do another thing, which will change.
You had one of those in our first game, and the three of us that were playing with you were all newbies to the game, and it was like the second round, and you chained like 12 things together, and it was like, whoa. I guess Tyson won.
But that I didn't end up winning that game even though I had like chained all that stuff early on. It just because you can do that doesn't guarantee that you win.
But it felt like we were playing, beginner level, and Tyson's already on expert level.
Was that the game that Tyler was grumbling about, and then he ended up coming back at the end?
Exactly, and he beat me.
I didn't grumble during that game. I did not grumble during that game. That was Bitoku.
He's like, oh, there's no way. Oh, Bitoku. It was another one. Sorry.
I beat Tyson by.
So often.
Yeah, exactly. You get your games mixed up.
Screw you guys. I beat Tyson by 1 point, which is starting to become a theme because I believe in your last game, Kevin beat you by 1 point.
Beat him by 1 point, yeah.
I've only won this game one time. I've played this game on, I think 7 times. I won it twice, but the other one that I won, I played solo. And won against the Eagle. I beat the bot by over 100 points.
Oh, wow.
So easy was easy. And while we're here, the solo in this game is really good. I actually think they did a great job. It's designed by David Turchi, I believe.
Shocker.
and it was really well done solo. Every back of every player board is unique and mixes up how the solo player plays, and it has it. So it's this really interesting dynamic that makes it very worth playing. I don't know that I'd recommend that you learn on the solo game.
Nice.
I generally like area control in games. Darwin's Journey does it so subtly and so well. It blows my mind how well it's done, because it's not a major part of the game, but it still contributes, but it's simple. There's 2 things that I could think of, and maybe there's more, but the correspondent letters. It's an area control mechanism, right? It's so simple, but yet can be very rewarding, and yet it's not the main focus of the game, right? Also, getting your magnifying lenses out on, you're in a sense controlling that area. So controlling that action. So anytime anybody takes that action, you get a coin. Very small and simple. Moving the guys around on the island. You can sit in a spot that someone might want and block it, and there's some area control there too, right? So it's very subtle. It's not this whole game is area control, but I love that it incorporates it into the game, and I think it does it very well.
I'll touch back on the correspondence area control of the game, because I agree with you. All of those are present, and it is subtle, and it creates this interesting choices for all of them, but particularly I think with the correspondence actions, because you're trying to get the most stamps out of there to maximize whatever benefit you'll get, because the really interesting thing is that you do not get those benefits until the cleanup phase of the round, essentially, which allows you to be able to take actions outside of the normal action phase of the rounds, which can be really useful, especially if you're trying to score certain tiles and goals and things like that.
The beagle goals. You can sneak in scoring, like in big scoring, right before.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
And in fact, in the last game that I played, it came down to the correspondence. You had turn order over me, or no, you got the majority of moving the guy on the island, and you blocked it so that I couldn't move and score any additional points. And so that action was useless to me, which it was perfectly played, but it just...
And you still won, but...
No, that's the...
Oh, no, that's the one I did win.
Yeah.
But no, that's a perfect example of how area control and the correspondence work, because then I used it to use the area control mentality of the island so that you couldn't get the stuff that you needed, so that I could maximize my points and minimize yours.
And then friendly ties.
Yes.
Right? That's, friendly ties are great. It's a feel good for everybody. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get locked out of it if you have the same amount of stamps that somebody else does, right? Which I thought was really cool. So what are some things we don't like? if anything? I mean, we got some pretty high praise for this.
I got something. In a 4-player game, when you're the 4th player to go, the compensation of being able to pick the objective cards first doesn't make it up for me, especially if you start out in a game with your, I don't know, the character cards,
animal companions, or the
crew cards,
the crew cards that determine what stamps you have to start out, and the color that you don't have. Like in one particular game, I didn't have green. There was only one green rubber seal that came out. I don't think I had a chance to buy a green seal until like the 3rd round. And because I had something else that was an amazing turn that I wanted to do, I didn't buy it. I didn't actually get a green one until the 4th round. But my point is, when you're in a 4-player game, you essentially start with the same compensation as everybody else. You just get to pick your objective cards first. And I think that's a little bit of a ding. That's very nitpicky for me.
So it's interesting that you say that, because there has been lengthy discussions on the BGG forum about this very topic.
Oh, really?
And like, there's a lot of people that there's a number of people who have come with the perspective that you just gave. And then a lot of people who have been playing it a lot come back and say that actually can be far more valuable than going first.
See, I feel like the objective cards are all fairly easy to complete. They give you direction on where you're going to go. The first game I played, it took me probably...
Is that what you're referring
to? Yeah. The starting objectives. And I think the first game that we played, it took me a little longer to figure out what was going on to get them completed. And I picked last in that game, so I didn't really know, but I also picked last in another game, and I don't know. I feel like the starting objectives are all pretty easy to complete, so there's not a huge benefit unless you have a path in mind that you want to focus on. Then, okay, I'm going to pick those objective cards that align with that, but usually at the start of the game, you're kind of up for whatever's going to happen and whatever direction you're going to be directed towards.
I do think that in the first round of a game, a lot of times what people will go for as the first action is to go and get seals.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. Because you want to improve your worker.
So you're going 4th. There's no green anymore.
But if you get a lens, you take that lens action early, then you get the action of where you go.
And you don't have to meet a seal requirement on that, which I think is a fantastic mechanism to be able to enable you to play something that you otherwise couldn't play, and makes up for some of the differences of turn order.
Yes. Yeah, so you can buy it once and then you can do it once the whole game.
Or unless you have temporary knowledge.
Which can be a pretty powerful
move,
right?
Yeah, and in the last game, I mean, I wish I would have had more lenses to put out that I played in. I put out all 6, and that was awesome, and it was fun. And
so you had that special card that let you get lenses, or it gave you bonuses.
Or it gave me a bonus every time I put a lens out. Yeah.
And that's again an interesting thing I think about this game is Greg, who we played with, had talked about, or maybe it was Ben. One of them specifically said they didn't think that they provided too many lenses. That there was no way anybody was going to use all of their lenses. And I went, Tyler, I think in every game that we've played so far has got all of his lenses out, and it really just depends on the strategy, which I think, again, goes to the game's ability to have multiple paths to victory. And we haven't even talked about like the book of theory of evolution track and like researching and discovering in museums.
Yeah, there's so much there.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to more of a neutral thing about the game, right? My first game, there's so much in this to take in. I think going into it, you should be aware that maybe your first game,
it's going to be a little rough.
It's going to be a little rough, right? I enjoyed the first game, but I enjoyed the second game a lot more because I kind of knew what was going on. That's not unique just to this game. That's, for any heavier Euro, that's going to be, or any heavy game period, that's going to be a potential issue. But that's just something to be aware of going into this game. Give it another shot if you have a bad experience the first time, because there's just a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right in line with one of my maybe neutral, maybe negatives is similarly like this game becomes difficult to bring in front of new players. Because one, it's really hard to be able to see the strategies and see what is all available there because there's so much going on. For new players, this can be hard. So if you're playing with new players, that's a difficulty. And then on top of that rules teach, it is always going to be a long rules teach.
Yeah, Ben even mentioned that it has the feel of a Lacerda game. Yeah. There's so many interconnected mechanisms in the game that, it's just hard to wrap your head around. But yeah.
I think it is nice, though, like Anachrony. Once you get a few plays under your belt, it feels pretty simple after that. And,
agreed.
And I think you could really speed up the playtime, too, when you're not playing with new players, obviously. I think there can be some AP that creeps into this game, but that's group dependent, and there's a lot of good decisions and some potential for min-maxing at the end of the game. So a little bit of AP that can creep in, But
I will say that we played this game most recently, Kevin and I, while you played Moonrakers on the other table, and we ended at the same time. There was one caveat difference.
There's a caveat there. I taught the game, and I was almost done teaching, and then Matt showed up, and I had to reteach all the rules. So
party foul.
And then he ended up winning, and I gave him the abbreviated rules version. So the fact that he won
that was cool.
Speaks to his skill. Yeah, definite party foul though.
Yeah,
right. But like length of play wise, like if this is the type of length of play that you like, there's no problem.
Yeah.
So just be aware that this can be a lengthy game.
Yeah.
And let's move into our final thoughts of this game and where we stand. The way we do it on the Longest Turn podcast is we like to have our scales up from 1 to 5 points. You can put a 0 if you so choose, if you think this game is worth burning or throwing in the trash. But I don't think we've ever given a 0 on any game, and I don't foresee us actually doing that. So on a scale of 1 to 5, who wants to kind of start us off in giving their final thoughts in this game?
I'll go for it. There's a lot to love about this game. We've explained many reasons why we like to play. I mean, I've had a great time playing it. I love worker placement games in general, and I think this one does it really well. I love, like we mentioned, that the workers get unique. They can go to unique spots, and you can customize that. That's awesome. I think the theme is fun. The art is fantastic, and it's great. I was thinking about the score I was going to give this and the games that I played recently. And there's actually a Luciani game that I've played recently that I think I like more than this one.
Ooh, right? What's that?
Toledo.
Oh.
So I played Toledo twice, and I've enjoyed my plays of Toledo, I think, more overall than my plays of Darwin's Journey. It gives me the same feel, right? There's the end of round scoring in Toledo, right? You're moving around a map in Toledo. Turns that you take feel awesome in Toledo. In Darwin's Journey, I get the same feeling. There's combos, there's turns that feel great. You can set up things. You're setting up for, end of round scoring. You get big points there. But I think overall I like Toledo a little bit better. So I think the score this is going to be a 4 for me, which is still a fantastic, awesome score. And I'd gladly play this game anytime. Anytime it gets out on the table, I'll play it. I just think it's a great game and another fantastic game from Luciani for sure.
Fantastic designer. He's got
a lot of amazing games.
Lorenzo Barrage.
I have never played Lorenzo, and I want to play that one so bad. So I would give Toledo a 5. I would also give this game a 5. I think it definitely, there are feelings, and it's like you're in my brain. There were, when I was thinking about things, I was like, man, there are a lot of similarities to Toledo. This feels much busier and more's going on than Toledo. It feels like there's more to do. I feel like there are so many good choices every turn of what you can do. And I feel like there are so many different paths to victory. I feel like I haven't even really explored the islands like I could, or the ship, I've never really gotten hardly any rewards at all from the ship and going all the way to the end. But I feel like there's a good balance too. Whichever path you choose, whether it's taking stuff to the museum or going for the objectives or maxing out your customizing your workers and getting points from there, or there are so many different ways to score points. There are so many fulfilling and rewarding decisions for me. I love when it comes my turn and I've got 2 or 3 good or amazing choices available to me. And it just makes it so much fun. It's a 5 for me. It's beautiful design. I would never turn this game down. I was thinking about the games that I've played just this year, and this is right up there at the top of my new favorite new to me games. I've played both, or the new Dune Imperium expansion has taken Dune Imperium to the next level. Rise of Ix. Undaunted has been amazing. There's an asterisk by that because it's not really new to me this year, but man, this game is awesome. And I really enjoyed my plays of it. And it's right up there with my favorite new to me games of this year. So it's a 5 for me.
Yeah, I don't think there's any surprise then that from me it will also be a 5. I love this game. I first played this game back in 2019, pre-pandemic. Played it in a prototype form. Loved it then. I got the lowest scores I've ever seen in this game. I got an 85 for one of my games, which I've never seen anybody else get below 100 points in this game, and I did it. And Ben was in that game, and he got over 100, and so did the other people who were playing. Even when I'm losing in this game, I'm enjoying the decisions I'm making because they allow me to do interesting things. And I think that's a mark of a great game, is that I don't care what's happening. I could win or lose, but I can have a great experience either way. I think that's great. And that's how I feel about this. Like I said, I've only won this game against people in the 7 times I've played it, 1 time. And I've never not enjoyed this game. I've had a great time, even though I typically lose this game. And I love that about this game. It's beautiful, great production. Everything that you guys have said, I agree with. I think this game has so much potential. I want to explore this game more. The fact that it has tons of content that I've yet to explore in this game. I haven't played with the Pirates expansion. I haven't played with the Firelands expansion. I haven't played with the Falmouth Port expansion. I haven't played with the scenarios. There is so much content left to explore in this game, and I haven't even finished exploring the base content of different action tiles and things like beagle goals and things like that can switch. There is so much in this game that every experience can be different every single time I play this game. So for me, this is easily a 5 game, and I will play this anytime anybody wants to. I will bring it out. I love it. Darwin's Journey. I think it's great.
So we have a longest turn first on the show that we're pretty excited about. So we just spent a lot of time talking about Darwin's Journey. We have a copy of Darwin's Journey that we want to give away to one of our listeners. And we're excited to do that.
This is the retail version of Darwin's Journey.
Yep, the retail version. It is opened, but it is unpunched, so it's a brand new game. And we want somebody out there to enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed it. So there's going to be a little bit of a contest here. Join our Discord if you haven't already. And if you're on our Discord, we're going to have a separate channel, and we'll want you to comment on that channel. And that's the way that you're going to enter into this contest. Comment with your favorite animal. How long do you guys want to give on this?
We'll randomize the winner after the episode's been out for a week.
Okay, so we'll release the episode after it's been out for a week. We'll randomize all of the entries, and one lucky winner will win a copy of Darwin's Journey. So if you do happen to win, we'll reach out to you separate and work out shipping. But it'll be free to you. We'll pay for shipping on our side, and you'll be the brand new owner of a copy of Darwin's Journey. U.S. only. Yep. We are, as you know, if you're a listener of the show, you've heard us talk about where we're based out of. We're in Colorado, so. sorry for those outside of the U.S. We will ship in the U.S. only.
We would love to at some point get to the stage where we can do contests worldwide. We're not there yet. We part of this is
we're still very in the red.
Right.
Yeah.
Appreciate those who have contributed to our Buy Me a Coffee, which is helping us do some of this, kind of cover the shipping costs and things like that. So we're appreciative of that. We're just not yet to the stage where we can. Unfortunately, we can't send it anywhere in the world. We'd love to.
We're not quitting our day jobs yet.
Yeah, right. So I enter the contest, and good luck.
This is a great game. If you want this game and you want the deluxe version of it, like, there is some really great stuff in it. The retail version is amazing too. Like, the level of production that this game has outright is gorgeous. I think this is one of my favorite games of recent years. Yeah.
Top 10? Oh, could be.
It was in my top 30.
That's right. We gave you crap for that.
It was in my top 30. So.
Man, you're making Tyler joke.
And rightfully so, I might add.
I remember that. That was funny. But hey, you were right. You're right. I mean, I think this cracks my top 30 as well. So should we talk about what we're excited about? Do we have anything? There was a recent Kickstarter that I backed. It is for pies, Mori, Lunar, and bacon. Okay.
I saw this one.
Yeah. This is
I thought of you.
Right.
When I saw this.
This sounds like this is perfect for playing with my family. These are all trick-taking games from Board Game Tables. If you saw the Kickstarter, the art on these games is just amazing. It's like really good art. And there's different variations on trick taking. I read through descriptions of the games, and they just look really interesting. There's like a team one. There's one that has dice involved in it as well. It just seems like something to be right up my alley and my family's alley, right? So I think these will get played a lot. So I actually just backed pies, and I think in the Pledge Manager I'll probably end up backing all of them. If you back all of them, then you get the upgraded bits.
I was going to say, how did you not get bacon too?
I love pie. All right. Bacon is amazing too, and it's really cool. You get the upgraded bacon bits, right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Tyler not laughed more at that than I did.
I don't know. It wasn't that great, but so I'm excited for this one. I mean, the board. I have some other Board Game Tables games. Mountain Goats is one. I like
that one.
And that one's just a fun game. There's another one called Sequoia that I have that's a lot of fun. There's this Lunar. I can't remember. GPS. Stay away from that one. It's terrible. But most of the Board Game Tables games are I've had, great success with. So hopefully these are good as well.
Nice.
So I've got something that I'm excited about as well. And this is more of a personal thing. And if you're on our Discord channel or you've listened to us for any amount of time, you know that I get made fun of a lot for not presenting my collection. So I've got very limited space in my house lately, and
your basement's wide open. Tyson.
I had up until I finished my basement, which within the last year we finished our basement. I had limited space, so I've sequestered my board games to a different room, and anytime we played them, I would just bring down the game that I would be playing. Tyler made fun of me because I decided to put some in a windowsill so that he could see some of my games.
They were displayed marvelously.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, proof that Tyson has games.
I have games, and I have good games, and I like my games. My wife and I are in the process of constructing shelves and hanging them in the basement. Unfortunately for us, she opted for the closed cabinets, so you can't see them. So I'll have to, every board game day, I'll have to open my
the cupboard so you can see them.
You almost did jazz hands.
Yeah, jazz hands. That's how you open cupboards with jazz hands.
They're motion activated. These sound amazing.
IKEA shelves that are not Kallax, or can call them Kallax as well. I think.
Well, you should because that's how you pronounce it.
Well, I know. I've heard other people say Kallax,
and that's not correct.
Kevin speaks Swedish.
So that actually brings me a good question. My wife we were driving to IKEA.
Well, it's IKEA.
But yeah, we were trying to figure out what the actual pronunciation is.
It's IKEA. Yeah, there you go. Fun fact
for all of those of you trying to learn Swedish or already know Swedish.
Nobody's trying to learn Swedish.
I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I saw you put smörgåsbord.
Yeah.
Which smörgåsbord means
sandwich plate.
Sandwich table.
Yeah. Okay. Plate. Yeah. Board is plate in Dutch. So, yeah. No, I have ancestry from there, so I've been trying to learn a little bit of Swedish, and doing a little Duolingo here and there.
Oh,
I've never tried that app.
I've got Dutch going, Swedish, and Hebrew. I want to learn Hebrew. I don't know.
Because why not?
Yeah.
More power to you.
Yeah. Nice. Languages are fun.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, unlike languages.
Oh, back to what you're excited about.
Oh, yes. You hadn't actually got to it yet? Shelves.
No, we talked about the shelves.
Yeah.
Hopefully within the near future, I'm going to have my games on display and available in my game room area. Now, we may actually have to be getting different shelves because once we constructed the first one, my wife and I, it wasn't deep enough to fit the all of the games that I wanted, and we're deciding what to do next. So we may have to get new shelves.
Well, if you're closing, because a lot of my games on my shelves kind of stick out a little bit, like the Infinity Box for Anachrony. It fits in one of the cubes, but it sticks out a little bit. Yeah. Or you got the legacy games like Aeon's End Legacy. Doesn't fit perfectly in there. So
I found a solution with the ones that we have is I could take out the particle board in the back, and it'll give me like an inch or a half an inch or so extra space, which fits most of my games that way. So we may be doing that, but we have to figure that out. But the point is
exciting, very exciting.
I will have games on display within the near-ish future.
I'm excited to see all your games.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
How many games do you have?
Let's guess. Expansions?
Let's guess. I'm going to say 110.
74.
153.
Oh. I win. Do I win a game?
It's been BGG stalking you.
I don't want micromax. No,
did I win that back last episode?
No, you did.
You can keep it.
You did win that back. We didn't even talk about that.
Oh. I thought I was going to win the Darwin's Journey. I thought that's what was on the table.
No, one lucky listener gets to win Darwin's Journey.
Don't be giving away the game for the giveaway.
You can actually play
Tyson.
I own because I'll be Darwin's Journey.
That's unheard of.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our episode.
It does.
Thanks for if you lasted this long in the episode. Thanks for sticking with us. We know the audio quality was a little bit of a roller coaster. But we hope you enjoyed the content nonetheless.
Yeah, this is kind of like a Frankenstein episode. That's what it reminds me of, right? It's just kind of like sewn together.
Mix and match. Yeah.
Finding pieces wherever we can get them.
Yeah, right. And hopefully it's alive.
We'll see how it turns out.
We've discovered that Kevin has a new potential in voice acting as a career, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm quitting my day job for sure.
He had to recreate some of his parts, as did I. So,
so if you made it this far, congratulations. Thanks for listening. Right?
Yeah, thank you for listening. We promise next episode we'll be back to our normal standard of quality. So, I hope you enjoyed the episode despite the audio hiccups.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Tot ziens.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Kevin, do you want to run through those quotes that I sent you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, this is really weird.
I know it is, but I will I'll put them in, and if it's not working, then I'll figure something else out. But oh, dude, have you considered going into acting? I think you missed your calling, man.
Oh my gosh, this is the weirdest thing ever. Just random quotes. Okay, cool.
Okay,
and did
here's
I say
the setting.
He's like,
I don't know. However,
at the very least, we'll have some very interesting outtakes if we need them.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Dude! By the time I get done with this episode, I'm not putting any freaking outtakes.